the contract negotiations. I remember, I think it was 2019, it came out that you had re-signed a new deal. I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of people that re-signed that year are sort of having their deals cut. Do you think that they're looking at some of those and being like, man, we signed a lot of people because we were in a talent war at that point, a lot of companies emerging. Do you think that has anything to do with the specific cuts that are being made right now?
I would say no. Of course, I don't know that for sure. I think the only thing that matters on these cuts is pretty much your price tag. You know, if they're trying to cut costs right now and they're really going deep into that, I mean, there's guys that had no business getting fired that did, maybe because they were expensive. But whether or not you had, 1 year left on your deal, 1 month left on your deal, 5, 10 years left on your deal, I don't really think that matters because, they're not guaranteed contracts. You have your 90 days, but outside of that, like, you're not getting locked in for a year, and there aren't really guarantees of any kind, even on a limited capacity. So I don't think that necessarily factored in. Potentially, if you had like a little bit left, they might think, let's let it play out and finish out and see if anything changes. But that's the only thing I could think of.
So maybe explain to me like how you got the news. I'm sure it was not a wonderful time, but I mean, you did have other stuff in the works, as we see right now. You had a movie that was being filmed, and they hit up WWE and said, "Hey, this guy, we like this guy." What kind of range of emotions did you go through there? Because obviously exciting things on the horizon, but still what you had devoted your life to for the last several years was changing significantly.
Yeah, man. There was a lot that was going on at that time. But ultimately, when I got the news, there's always some mixed emotions. But I don't know. The way I looked at it was, for the last couple years, I was starting to get to the point where I feel like they don't know how to use me here. I feel like I have all this talent that no one's seen. Like I literally never was in a legitimate program or storyline with anybody. So a lot of people, I always felt funny when I would be judged online or by a locker room, because it's like, how can you judge a guy when you don't know what he can do? Like these cold matches or these, dark matches or like filler matches. It's like you can't get a feel for what someone's got to offer until they can be on a program, until you give them that mic. They can have a few goes with the same talent. They can go after each other, and you can really start to paint that picture. I mean, that cell phone promo was kind of the extent of that opportunity that I got in my career. And that was like a 2-minute thing on my phone in my garage. So I was starting to get to the point where it was like, I'm not a quitter. I don't quit. I know that you have to weather the storm, but at the same time too, it was like, you know what, if this isn't really going to go anywhere, I don't really want to be a career mid-carder or a guy that's, being used to do behind the scenes stuff only or whatever it might be. So it almost looked like, pulling the plug on something that needed a change. And I mean, guys leave all the time. They become more successful, and they either come back with a bigger name, or they continue to do their their stuff outside of the business or the company, and it's better off for them. So I felt like I was approaching that time, and so I was glad, man. And now it's like I'm relearning what freedom smells and tastes like, and I can do anything I want, and I don't have to ask permission. I can start a Twitch account. I can go to a restaurant for a nice meal and tag the restaurant on my personal social media. So it's just like, there's a lot, man. And I'm hustling. I'm busier now than I've ever been, which has been nuts. And it just shows like, it was time, and, it's a win-win.
So I assume the conversation was, hey, sorry, pal, budget cuts from the talent relations?
More or less. I mean, there was a lot that went into that. Maybe we'll touch on that later.
Sure,
but
sure.
yeah, it was more or less. It was like, hey, man, doors open.